Hello, everyone. Welcome. Can you put your email down in the chat and something you're grateful for so I could take attendance?
Celine, I forgot. It's our email or our name?
Just your email because I could see your names.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I'm grateful for the sunset these past few days after daylight savings. I feel like I could catch them before class now, which is nice. Okay. Can you guys see the screen I'm sharing? The Jeopardy questions.
Yes.
So it's going to be the same format as last time. And let's get started. What are the differences between fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins? You're welcome to shout out the answer or type it in the chat and I'll read them. Yep, whether it's absorbed in fat or water, and also where they are stored. Most fat-soluble vitamins are stored in the liver, and the only two water-soluble vitamins, B6 and B12, are stored in the liver, while most are distributed or flushed out when you drink water. What is the most common source of vitamin and mineral toxicity? Does anyone wanna guess? Yes, it's supplements. And then I also wrote down the act where it defines what a supplement is. And what I learned from a registered dietitian in a previous class is that it's an unregulated industry in the US. In other countries, they regulate it more, like they have more rules and requirements for selling supplements. But in the US, like anyone could put supplements on the shelf, and like how many grams and stuff like that. Like there's no system to um like scan them and like process them and put them on the shelves. It's a pretty unregulated industry. How is sparkling water advised to not be consumed by itself? Or why is sparkling water advised to not be consumed by itself? Why should you never drink sparkling water on its own? Yes, because it's acidic and it damages the teeth. It has a lot of acid. Yeah, so it's recommended to eat while drinking sparkling water. What two hormones participate in fluid conservation? ADH. Yes, that's one of them. Do you remember the other one, Luis? aldosterone, and they both um help control fluid conservation. And it's like a dance they do, you know? One wants to retain your fluids, the other one wants to like try to get rid water to increase blood volume. I mean, they want to reduce water excretion. ADH, antidiuretic hormone. It reduces water excretion, which increases blood volume, while the other one tells the kidneys to conserve sodium and water, which increases blood volume. Does anyone have any questions? What is hyponatremia? Hyponatremia. Low in salt. Yep, low in a lot of electrolytes, actually. You could be super dehydrated and drink so much water because you don't have enough solutes, any electrolytes to attract the water into your body. So the water is just like passing straight through and staying in like your large intestines. And it could actually, like severe cases of this can lead to brain, nerves, and fluid in the lungs. Brain nerves, swelling of the brain nerves, and fluid in the lungs. Okay, this section is vitamins. What are the differences between retinoids and carotenoids? You guys remember what vitamin this is? Yep, vitamin A. Which one of the two is animal source or plant source? Do you guys remember? Yep. I feel like because it has the word carrot in it, it helps me remember that's a plant. And which of the two is more bioavailable? Meaning when you consume it, your body does not need that much support to use it. And there isn't a lot of things that makes it harder for our body to process it. So which one's more bioavailable? Yep, retinoids is more bioavailable. And when we talk about vitamin A toxicity, it's harder for people who are vegan to have it because when you consume a lot of plant-based vitamin A, carotenoids, it's not as bioavailable. So it's harder for you to overconsume it. While if you consume a lot of retinoids, it could lead to that. But like we talked about earlier, that if you just consume it as a supplement instead of through with a bunch of like fats, proteins, or lipids, fats, I just said the same thing three times. Fats, proteins, or carbs, then it's super like potent. How is vitamin E an antioxidant? The vitamin E donates electrons or hydrogens to free radicals to make cells more stable. important in areas exposed to high levels of oxygens, like red blood cells and lungs. And do you guys remember the mineral that does something similar to vitamin E as an antioxidant? It's selenium. Selenium is also an antioxidant. Pretty cool. There's a lot of ways our bodies try to repair itself. How is vitamin D made? Yeah, the sunlight hits our skin and activates. When the vitamin D precursor in our skin is exposed to sunlight, it travels as an inactive vitamin D3 to the liver, where it travels to the calcidiol in the kidney to become an active form. And do you guys remember what vitamin D does? The functions? One of the functions it has, it helps regulate calcium. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, maintain calcium levels. How does it maintain calcium levels? So there's three things it does. Yeah, it increases calcium absorption in the small intestines. It also decreases the amount of calcium that is excreted in urine, and it increases osteoclast activity, increases osteoclast activity, which causes the release of calcium from bones into the blood. What vitamins and minerals in grains are enriched when you remove bran, germ, and husk from the grain? I'll give you a hint. There's four of them. Fiber is not one of them. Fiber is carbohydrates and not a micronutrient. So this is what the government required to be added back into like all-purpose flour, because when you process the grain to get rid of the bran, germ, and husk, it makes it more shelf stable. But it also takes away like a lot of nutrients. And when they discovered that a lot of children were deficient in these vitamins and minerals, they added it back in as enrichment, and they are riboflavin, niacin, folic acid, and iron. Okay, this section is minerals. What minerals do we consume to maintain fluid balance? This I usually think of a cell and what kind of molecules need more support going in and out. Yeah, sodium, chloride are two of them, and I think there's one more. Potassium. Sodium, potassium, and chloride. How are minerals stored? There's a few locations in our bodies for specific minerals. Some are stored in various tissues, some remain in bloodstream, others are in muscle tissue, organs, and glands. Yeah, specifically in the bone, it's calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and fluoride are stored in there, while in the liver, iron, copper, zinc, and some trace minerals. What is the protein that carries most of the body's copper in the blood? Ceruloplasmin. Yep. What regulates thyroid hormone? And your thyroid is like where your neck is, your neck area. There's like an image she showed in the lecture that really helps me remember which mineral is needed for this. Yep, iodine. Iodine regulates, oh, I'm going to include it in the slide, but yes, you're right. It's iodine. It regulates the thyroid gland. It maintains the production of the thyroid hormone, which, if you didn't know, it like holds, like maintains it by putting a limit to how much thyroid hormone gets produced. Our thyroid hormone regulates metabolic rate and growth, and it's always constantly like chugging it out. But iodine puts like a stop sign there and tells it when it needs to stop so it doesn't keep producing it because when it keeps producing it, it could turn into goiters. And that's the image I was talking about. Do you guys remember that picture? Thyroidectomy. Does that mean they removed your thyroid gland?
Yeah. They found I had cancer in my thyroid, so they had to take the whole thing out, and I have to take like a daily pill now
For
to replace
iodine?
my thyroid. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. What are the functions of zinc? Making DNA, as well as protein metabolism, wound healing and growth, development of bones and reproductive organs, storage, release, and function of insulin, cell membrane structure and function, important as a cofactor in antioxidant reaction, white blood cell formation. I'm learning about how important it is for pregnant women to consume zinc in their pregnancy, so bones and reproductive organs could develop well for the infant. Okay, this next one is just filled with nutrient deficit diseases because there's a name for every, you know. nutrient deficiency. Remember which nutrient is related to pellagra? Niacin. And it looks like scaly skin with symptoms of dermatitis, diarrhea, dementia, and death. In my class, I learned that these like 4Ds are signs, like common symptoms for a lot of these deficient nutrient deficiencies. But pellagra specifically scaly skin. What about beriberi? Which nutrient is associated with this disease? Thymine. And it prevents glucose from being metabolized into ATP, resulting in weakness, loss of appetite, irritability, tingling, and loss of muscle coordination. And if you're having trouble remembering which disease is which nutrient, I would suggest like Googling photos of people who have these diseases because usually that visual imagery helps me associate with certain minerals and nutrients. What is osteoporosis? Wearing of the bones. That is true. It's porous and fragile bones due to low mineral density, bone loss density, yeah. And it's a pediatric disease with geriatric consequences. Did she go over that in lecture?
Yeah, there was like slides on it.
Yeah. Um, it's basically saying how our bone density is created when we are children and growing rapidly. So consuming a lot of what is stored in our bones, like phosphorus, calcium, and and a lot of that as you're growing. And then when you reach adulthood, we stop growing, and those are your stores for the rest of your life. But for women, actually, when they hit menopause, a lot of the bone density is lost. So if you have like very low storage that you created in childhood, when you become old, that storage is depleted over time and then you'll have low bone density. So it's important to have very high storage as a child. Right now, it's probably too late for us. Like none of us are growing in that part of our life. So we are what we have now. But I feel like this is something that would be nice to know when I was a child. This is why you should drink a lot of milk and such so you don't get this disease. Another way to help with this is by bearing a lot of weight. And I hear that like astronauts in space, they get their calcium leached out of their bones because they're in zero gravity. So like wearing a backpack or like doing weight training helps with maintaining density in your bones because it needs that. What causes scurvy? And scurvy, I always think of like pirates. Pirates tend to get this. And if you think of what pirates eat in like popular
Vitamin
literature, like what are they lacking?
vitamin C
Yeah, vitamin
deficiency.
C. Like they don't eat oranges on their pirate ships, unfortunately. But it causes reduced collagen synthesis, bruising, bleeding, gums, and poor wound healing. And I remember learning how like after the people who have been in sea for a very long time reintroduce vitamin C to their diet, a lot of these symptoms like disappear. So it some of these are reversible and some are not. Like osteoporosis is not reversible, unfortunately, but this is. What causes megaloblastic anemia? It's caused by a folate or folic acid or vitamin B12 deficiency because you need those two nutrients to have red blood cells divide in a normal way. But because they're not dividing, the red blood cells are just growing and they look immature and they don't have all their features that they need. So that's why it's called mega because they're like huge. The blastic anemia. And anemia is usually related to the blood. So, any questions? I feel like this section, fitness and sports intro, since it's the most recent, I hope you guys um try to guess in the chat. What is exercise? An activity that increases heart rate, planned physical activity, repetitive physical activity. Yeah, it is physical activities that does all those things and improve your overall physical fitness, including your heart rate, like challenging it to increase in endurance and such. What is the FITT principle? Frequency for F. What about ITT? Intensity, yeah. The other two is time and type of exercise. And she, in the lecture, talked about how diversifying your fitness program is super beneficial than just doing like one type the whole entire week, you know, or like the whole month. But doing one type the whole entire month is better than doing nothing, you know? So one of the types of exercise she talks about was flexibility exercises. And what are the benefits of flexibility exercises? Balance, movement of joints. Yeah, it's important as you age to maintain your full range of motions because less risk of injury when you fall, as well as improve balance and stability. Yeah. What energy compound would you use for the first 15 seconds of a burst of activity like jumping? Phosphocreatine. And our last question is during heavy exercise, which macronutrient is metabolized primarily by skeletal muscles? There's only three macronutrient, and thinking about it, which of the three does the skeletal muscles metabolize for energy? Yep, carbs, glucose. Okay, so I'm done with these slides. Does anyone have any questions that you want more clarifying or for me to go over? If not, you're welcome to just make sure your email is in the chat because that's how I'm going to take attendance. And then you're free to dip, to go study, or do whatever you like. Have a great evening. You're, you're welcome to stay to ask questions too. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.